And look who's back again. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Coach and Bro Show. Episodes drop every Monday and Thursday around 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Happy holidays to everybody. We are less than a week away from the Christmas holiday if you celebrate it. And today, because he is spending time with his family, we've got to call in the lefty from the bullpen. And there's only one man that can take his spot. My man from BTT. He's a superstar. Also DTL. My main man, Big Tommy C. Happy holidays, Tommy.
Happy holidays, Coach. Hello, and I'm happy to be here sitting in for Vinny Rue on the Coach and Bro Show.
You're damn right. We got a lot of topics to get to. If you're brand new to the Coach and Bro Show, we take on the biggest topics in the world of pro wrestling between me and Tommy C. Over 45 years inside of the WWE. Don't come at us with you know. No, we know.
That's
Because
right.
as Tommy likes to say, we were there.
That's
We've
right.
been there. And Tommy, we got to start with what happened in your backyard on
Yep.
Wednesday because I don't know if you've heard, but the WWE is moving to Netflix. Don't know if you've heard, but it's going
Yeah.
to be on January 6th. So they had a big fan fest at their new headquarters. You and I worked together for well over a decade at the old TV studios. Now they moved downtown, and yesterday it was a big presentation, superstars everywhere, and I still feel like they're hiding behind the 500 million a year instead of going, how are we going to make this different than what we're already doing? What'd you make of that event yesterday?
You know what the funny part of this whole event was, Coach?
What's that?
They had a merchandise trailer right outside the entrance area. So they
Stop
knew
it.
dude, I'm telling you. Yeah, they had them, and I knew one of the cops that was working it. They were expecting over 500 people there, and they didn't wanna have cops there, and the cop told me, "Look, you can't have this event unless you have cops there." And the people showed up, and they put a merchandise trailer right alongside the entrance of the building there, and they had, lines where people could go to get their merchandise, and then they let the first 300 or 400 people in, right? And then, as you saw the press conference, the all the people in the stands, up on the floors, those were all employees because I saw a lot of people that I still know in the company. So it was a big deal, but they still wanted to make money. That's my point, Coach. They
I
put
think
in
I know,
it
Tommy, and
doesn't
that's
end.
I think that's where, and I made reference to money last week on social, and people are like, Coach, it's what makes the world go round. Everybody, and we understand that, but with all of our time in the WWE, and this is the to me one of the problems Vince had is that you could never separate from hey, let's just do something for the fans, or let's just do something because it's the right thing to do, or let's
Right.
just do something because it feels good. But we always got to make that almighty dollar. But Vince, since TKO bought them, they're paying back $9 billion,
Yes.
literally 9 billion or more. And so they're trying whatever they can. And so I believe a lot of the changes they're making long term are going to push fans away, not bring them closer. And I don't think that's going to do it
No.
because I think fans like to buy t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. But just the whole mentality of we want to take every last dollar we can get out of your back pocket and bring it into our deep pockets. Eventually, families are going to say either A, I can't afford it, or B, I just don't want to do it anymore. And I don't know which one's going to come first.
Yeah, and the whole idea that they cut live events and they're raising tickets, I mean, that's gonna piss off a lot of people, man. Because I know back in the day, we always wanted to keep the tickets kinda like this and with the live events and everything, but now they're cutting the live events and they're raising your prices because they think by cutting the live events and raising the prices, we're still gonna make more money than we did before and not have as many events. But it's going to the people's pocket that work hard every day, that wanna bring their kids to the show, and now the price is probably gonna be doubled or tripled. Unbelievable.
And that's the problem, Tommy, is that they think that the demand will be higher and that more people, oh, we don't have a lot of tickets, and they're already selling tickets for events in March. Like, you know, the PLEs, the elimination chambers, and things of that nature. It really turned me off. And people say, "Oh, you guys are being haters." What? No, we're not. We're just saying what we know. And I know this, Tommy, that if you cut, there used to be 300 live events a year, and they would always do stuff like yesterday for the employees at the, and I always thought it was fun. I thought it was cool. You would have snacks and superstars would come in. Yesterday, Kevin Owens was there. A few other people were there as well. It felt good. But now, as they move forward, what have we heard with Netflix? We haven't heard, man, when it's going to be TV 14. No, it's not. It's going to be this. No, it's not. It's going to be 2 hours. No, it's not. And it doesn't feel like it's anything but the money instead of what's the product going to be. And that's what I'm concerned of for any business, Tommy, whether it's basketball, baseball, or the WWE. When are we going to focus on here's where we're pushing and not just about what they've announced for the first Raw of the year, which, Tommy, when you look at it, it is better than a WrestleMania. What do you
Yeah.
make of what you've seen so far for what they're advertising? I mean, it's a slippery slope to have all this night one. You can't do anything but come down.
Yeah, you can't do anything from that. You gave him a pay-per-view card. You're giving him Seth and friggin' CM Punk. You're giving him Roman and Solo. You're giving him Liv and Rhea, right? Now you're up here, right? How much higher are you gonna go, right? Where's it
Mhm.
gonna go from there? Is your second Raw, is it gonna be that high? No, it's gonna drop, and it has to drop. And you know what kills me? Triple H comes out there yesterday. He's talking, and we're gonna have this, and we have the greatest storylines ever. Well, where are they? Where are your storylines, Triple H? Because the only storyline that I know that's going on right now is still the bloodline. I have no idea what else is going on. We have nothing for Cody, right? Gunther's in the air somewhere. Wyatt Six is dead. I don't even know what they did to those guys. They killed them somehow. So tell me where all these great storylines are coming from. You keep saying this every week, every pay-per-view, every press conference. You tell me about great storylines. Are we seeing it, coach?
Well, I do want to be fair because I want to make it this an even show because I think, and this is on me, not on you, but on me. I think I have a tendency to be negative just to be negative sometimes because maybe we don't like something. So kind of what I'm trying to do moving forward is looking at it as the whole perspective. And Triple H as the guy and creative, he has to do that. He has to say that because he can't come out, Tommy, and go, our storylines suck. But you got to have a fine line between, well, we just had the main event and were any storylines progressed. And I think in 2024, Tommy, we're in a weird position because we can't go back to what it was in 30 years ago when it was,
Yeah.
once a week,
Yeah.
squash matches. But if you're going to give this type of a night, and I actually agree with what they're doing. I just think that a lot of fans, you're going to see a lot of fans complaining week 2 because they're going to wait a second. You gave me this. You gave me this. Travis Scott. How much do you think Travis Scott, by the way, is getting paid to do the new Raw theme song?
Oh man, he's getting paid big bucks. I hope it's a
Ooh.
one-time fee instead of every week that it's going on and you pay him, man. Million, couple of mil, easy,
It's
couple of
it's
mil.
it's funny that TKO, the Hollywood side of things, and the Rock and side of things. I remember Vince always hated feeding into other stars being on the show. Every time we would have Limp Biscuit or who else would we have? You remember when Triple H's theme
Kid
song
Rock.
Kid Rock in Vancouver? He hated it because he always felt like the talent, the wrestlers, they were the stars. And we even heard all the way going back to the 80s when WrestleMania started, he didn't want to do the whole Cyndi Lauper and all that. But you have to get new fans in. But Tommy, in 2024, what do you think they can do outside of moving to streaming? Which can you imagine in 2005 if I would have walked into your office and been like, "Hey, Tommy, are you going to get Netflix?" Coach, what are you talking about?
Right.
Stream? What is streaming? What is podcasting? That's how the whole world has changed. I applaud them for changing with it. But Tommy, we don't even know it's going to be 2 hours, 3 hours. We don't have really. They said it was going to be TV 14. Now it's not going to be. It seems like they're kind of making things up as they go along.
Yeah, I think they're, skating a little bit. I don't know how much Netflix has control of their creative, kinda like when Fox had it back in the day, dictating who they
Mm-hmm.
wanted and how they wanted it and stuff like that. But that was one of the reasons why they brought Logan Paul in, right? The guy has, like, over 27 million people follow him on every social media thing ever. I mean, he has millions of people, right? So it's a smart move to bring Logan over to Raw, right? And have his people who doesn't, and I don't know who doesn't have Netflix at this point, but you always gotta get new subscribers somewhere. Logan Paul would be the guy to get you your new subscribers because he's gonna put it out on social media that I'm on Netflix, blah, blah, blah. So
I'm so glad you mentioned that because he's been gone from TV for a while. He did his podcast last week and he made some flippant comment about I'm retired. And we knew it was a work. We knew he wasn't retired. They had to bring him on Raw because I think he has more combined than probably the rest of the roster combined, to be honest with you. But it brings up a good point, Tommy, because for Netflix to make this investment, it's one thing to invest in live events. We know they're doing the NFL. They're clearly doing Monday Night Raw. They've never done live shows before, so it's an investment. But when you make an investment, you want to have a return on that investment. So, how do you think they're going to monitor? It can't just be, well, we have 100 million subscribers today, and on June 1st, we've got 125, and all those are because of wrestling. That's not going to be how it's done. So, how do we decide if the investment is worth the $500 million per year they're going to be paying the WWE for all of these shows? How do we monitor that? Are they going to do a code? Are you going to have a sign up special? I don't know, but they've got to figure that out. And I don't know if they even care or if they just say, we've got to have all of this. We'll get an NFL deal eventually, like Amazon has. We'll get the NBA eventually. This is where it's going, Tommy, because I think they want commercials long term. I really, really do.
oh, yeah, of course they do. And I'm wondering in the contract, right? I'm wondering if it says anything that you have to reach these many new subscribers in the next 3 months or something like that.
But
Is
how do
that
they
in the
decide, Tommy? It probably is, but how do they monitor that? That's
that's
the
that
question, Tommy.
that yeah, that's the question. How do they monitor it? Right. Who does it? Like, is Netflix gonna be on this the whole time? Or WWE gonna have people trailing and say, "Oh, at this time we had this or we had this." I mean, I don't know how they're gonna do it. It really is crazy. It changes everything that you do in the WWE now, whether it's booking a show, booking a match for TV or what, because now you're on a streaming service which people pay for. And that's a big difference than watching it on cable on USA Network. Big difference, guys. Way different because now my money's coming out and I want the best show ever. And they want to maximize their money as far as they can, Netflix, to make more money. That's the whole point. And you're right.
I,
Eventually, there's going to be some commercials in there somewhere. Somewhere, somehow, it's going to happen, man.
I was a part of the Fox deal. I even got thanked when they got that deal done. It was a $1 billion deal. Seems very small compared to what Netflix is playing now. But part of the reason Vince was so adamant and called me at 3 a.m. in the morning with Kevin Dunn is because they knew they had to prove to mainstream media that it would work. And I made it happen at ESPN. And then they get the Fox deal. But after that first initial show, Tommy, and they threw everybody at it. Remember, they had the red carpet. It was Los
Mhm.
Angeles. Same thing they're going doing Netflix. Different building, but they had the red carpet. Everybody was there. But then as time went along, what happened? You didn't have the stars. They
No.
didn't have the ratings. The ratings fell off a cliff because nobody watches on Friday nights. Now USA is going to get that train wreck. And so hopefully they're looking at that and saying, we're going to fix that. Because if they go that, it's going to be the same thing happening that eventually people are going to say, you know what? I'm used to seeing WrestleMania every Monday night, and it's this. You brought up Logan Paul and the new subscribers. There's a lot of issues going on right now, and I know you've seen this story. And to me, a lot of people are not connecting the dots on why this is not going to happen. And I'm talking about Conor McGregor. And Conor McGregor has been the biggest MMA combat star in the world for the last 7 or 8 years. He hasn't fought in almost 4 years, Tommy. And he continues to tweet. If you just fell out of Mars and you're like, oh, he must be a great fighter because the way he tweets is I'm this, I'm that, I'm the greatest, I'm the pay-per-view king, all this kind of stuff. So he said 2 days ago that he has agreed to a fight boxing with Logan Paul. Logan Paul showed up yesterday. Tommy, can you tell me what company owns the UFC and the WWE? Do we know that answer?
Yes, we do. It's TKO.
Oh, it's TKO.
Yes,
Interesting. So you've got all those UFC fighters under one umbrella. You got WWE all in on. So that would mean Conor McGregor, who, unless I'm mistaken, is still a UFC fighter. Am I right, Tommy?
correct.
Okay, correct. So Logan Paul, as of yesterday, we know he's not retired, so he's a WWE superstar. Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct. So you got two guys under the same umbrella, meaning you should be able to get them both on the phone. Well, Logan Paul hasn't even addressed this. His brother did. Jake Paul, who's become a huge draw, and that a lot of real boxers are trying to get to step into the ring because they can make 10 to 20 million dollars when normally they would make 2 or 3. Okay? Let's follow the math. So now you got Conor McGregor who made a ton. 100 million Floyd Mayweather, 600 million Popper 12. The thing that's going to bring him down is the one thing that made him super famous, and that is money. And Tommy, now he wants a big payday with Logan Paul. Why do you think that for 48 hours, Logan Paul has not addressed this at all? And then today, on Thursday, Conor McGregor put out a tweet that was like, I'm the pay per view king. I'm going to teach him there's levels to this game. Conor, he hasn't even mentioned you. It feels like he's begging Tommy, and they're both under the same umbrella.
He's begging. And how about this, coach? This aspect of it. Why wouldn't TKO jump on this and say, hey, man, this could be a great deal? We have a UFC guy going against a WWE guy, right? And we can make money on it. Why isn't Nick Khan coming out and saying, man, I backed this pay-per-view. We're gonna do the production end of this whole thing. They haven't said a word. Crickets. The
I'll
only
tell you
one
why.
talking is
I'll tell you
Conor
why.
McGregor.
Because, Tommy, do you know what he just lost? And I don't want to get into the weeds with his legal issues and what we all know what he was just in a civil court, not criminal, civil, what he just got convicted of. He's been adamant. I was railroaded. I was this to that. I won't even comment on that. That's his business.
Right.
But when you get convicted of that, he had 2 or 3 so far. I know Proper 12. He was the face, Tommy. When they
I know.
sold, he made $600 million. They came out publicly and they said, we're no longer working with this cat. And that's where he is, I think, not realizing and reading the room. The reason TKO hasn't backed this, the reason that Dana White, when he's asked about Conor every single
Yeah.
time, it kind of deflects. Because, Tommy, you can't be in business with a guy that hasn't fought in 4 years. And every time we see him, and admittedly in court, is either high on drugs, drunk, or just out partying on a boat. Right? That's
Yeah.
all he's done for 4 years.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
And
not.
and I just don't know.
It's not a good look, and Dana White wants to stay with it. And you know how Ari runs a tight ship. You see what
Yep.
happened with WWE and the chairman, and they wanted no part of him and everything else. So why would he want to be a part of Conor McGregor? There's no relevancy. There's no upside. Nobody wants to see him anymore. If I'm Conor McGregor, I take my 600 million and go on my boat and be my merry way. I don't need to be relevant anymore. I don't care to be on social media, but he needs it. He feeds it. He's putting all this stuff out. And you know what the best part of it? Nobody's responding to it. That's the
I
best part
know.
of this whole
I
thing.
know. Yeah. And I think that speaks volumes. That's a great point, Tommy. Is that I think one of the saddest things, and I've had people with me go, Coach, you say this stuff so you can get back there. No, I'm very happy building what I'm building. How many times, Tommy, have I ever said, man, I want everybody to know who I am? I hate when people don't recognize you. Have you ever heard me say that?
No, never.
No. I'm
Nope.
having a ball doing this
Yep.
stuff with you. I'm having a ball working with the PFL. I'm having a ball working with the PGA Tour, but I have purpose, the reason to get out of bed. And yes, he should enjoy his money, but Tommy, I don't care who it is, whether it's Conor McGregor or somebody else, you got to have purpose to get
Yep.
out of bed in the morning. And sometimes the worst thing about purpose is when you have so much money, most people's
Mhm.
purpose is driven by I need to make a living to take care of my family and myself. He doesn't have those issues. And so now as he moves forward, what is his purpose going to be? And I think in his mind, he still believes he's a fighter because he tweets about it all the time. But Tommy, what can he do, or do you? Let me ask you this question because I don't care about what he does. I really don't care. But I know in this space it's relevant. Do you think this fight will ever happen? And if so, will they get sponsors? Because that's the other thing. The reason he made 100 million against Floyd, they had a ton of sponsors. Look at Jake Paul in Dallas. They had sponsors everywhere. Tommy, they're going to be knocking on doors, and it's going to be nope, nope, nope. You can't attach your business to him anymore. Who's going to tell him?
I
Who's going to
know.
tell him?
Yeah. He's not
Right?
he's bad juju, man. He is bad juju. I'm serious, dude.
I
Why would you
know.
want if you're a sponsor and you saw what that company did to him, they 86'd him. So why would another sponsor come and said, "Oh yeah, I'll sponsor your fight and I'll give you this much money and I want you to promote." Why would you want Conor McGregor representing your product right now? There'd be no way. That's why Dana White is staying away. That's why Nick Khan, Ari, and all these guys, they see what Conor's doing. They can give two craps. It's not going to happen, dude. He's in his own world, in his own mind, thinking that he's still relevant. He could still fight. And we all know he's never going back in the UFC ring. I don't care. Octagon. He's never doing that. I hear so much about it. He's not going to do that. He's trying to get the short way out with Logan Paul. Logan didn't even bring it up yesterday. Not even once did he
That's
say
it.
anything about it.
That's
That's
it.
enough said. Enough said right there.
He wants the easy way out. I love that line that you just used because to be a dog, to be a true fighter, and this is the other part that's very telling, Tommy, is with Jake Paul, a ton of fighters have come out and said, we want to fight him. With Conor McGregor, like Ilya Taporia, he's one of the great champions they have
Yeah.
there. He literally came out. I'm not going to tell you what he said because it was nasty, but he's like, I have no desire to fight him. And 3, 4, 5 years ago, that meant you got the biggest payday of your career, which in MMA is hard to do. Nobody is saying, give me Conor McGregor. I mean, Michael Chandler waited 2 years to never fight him. And so now you even have fighters within the UFC that don't want to fight Conor McGregor. And
It's a
it's sad, Tommy, because he had a chance, and very few athletes get to this point. He had a chance to be one of the greatest legacies in that sport ever when you talk about money, championships, different weight classes, all of that. And he let the partying lifestyle in that. And Tommy, you can't fake that motivation. When you're in the
mm-mm.
fight game, we've seen it with wrestling all the time, haven't we? That when
Yep.
you lose that motivation, all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're sitting in the seats all day, waiting
Yep.
for somebody to tell you what to do, and
Yep.
eventually you're getting released.
Yep.
That's what
Yeah.
happens.
Yep. I mean, he had the world, man. He had the world in his hand at one point. He was good. He knew how to promote. He was different. He had the great accent that people loved and everything like that. He could have been a heel. He could have been a baby face, and he blew it all. And now he's trying to be relevant again, and it's just a little too late. It's not working for him at all.
I was in the building when he transcended into superstardom. It was 13 seconds. He knocked out Jose Aldo, and the building shook. And that night, the parties, Vegas, it was like something I've never experienced in my life. But I think he can also be a cautionary tale because, Tommy, from a competition standpoint, we act like he hasn't fought in 3.5 years and he was on this long winning streak. He's not John Jones. John Jones has taken time off and comes back and wins world heavyweight champion, all that kind of stuff. That's not who Conor is. He's lost. I think he's 1-4 in his last
Yeah.
5 fights.
Yeah.
Right?
He's not
So there's
not
still
good.
all
No.
right. We'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep an eye on this.
Yep.
You're watching the Coach and Bro Show. Big Tommy C sitting in for Vince Russo today, who has this episode off. So, Tommy, that's a lot of WWE, but there is other wrestling and there are other companies, and we try to tackle all of it. And something happened in the last few weeks that has blown me away. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I'm trying not to say I don't get it because I tell all the people I work with to quit saying that. And I just said it. But Tommy, when you have a character that is over like Rover in a company that is struggling for attendance, is struggling for ratings, is struggling to maintain their position on the mat, why in the world would AEW allow Toni Storm, or if she just said, I'm going to do it anyway, to change the one character that was most over, certainly for the female side? I could argue the entire company. And now coming back and doing this new character where she has amnesia, she doesn't know who she is. She does know who superstars are. But if you're talking about realistic booking, to have amnesia, you would need to take a shot to the head, which she didn't do in competition. She just disappeared and now she was retiring. So, Tommy, explain to me what Toni Storm and AEW are attempting to accomplish.
Uh, It's career suicide for Tony Storm. That was one of the great gimmicks that they ever came up with. Whether she came up with it, Tony, or Joe Snabitz came up with it, who knows? It was well done. It was in black and white. She played that Marilyn Monroe type to the hilt, and she was good at it. She had the butler with her or whatever that guy was, and it was good vignettes. They'd shoot her in black and white, kind of like the old days of Gold Dust, and it was really good stuff. And all of a sudden, it goes away. I quit. I'm done. And then she pops up on AEW and she has amnesia. Does that make any sense at all? If you're thinking reality wise, you're right. She had to take a bump somewhere, amnesia, and now she comes back to the old Tony Storm. You know what I would do? You go back to the old Tony Storm, and then you come back to be the Marilyn Monroe character. Now you've just completely obliterated the Marilyn Monroe character, and now you're coming back and you're doing interviews and saying, oh, I think I know who that guy is. Oh, I've never done this or I've done that, but I'm interested in, like, she's just starting out again. What are we doing with that? I don't get it. One, like I said, we hate saying I don't get it, but I don't get what they did to her career right then and there. I don't know if that was her decision or Tony Khan's or combination, but you had something that was gold and you blew it.
There are many examples of superstars over the years that have changed their gimmick. That's not something out of the ordinary. But when you are a character that is over, for example, before The Rock was The Rock, he was one other character. When he became The Rock and became a multi-million dollar star, he would never dream about changing his gimmick. He's changed to the final boss, which has taken The Rock to another level.
Yeah.
That's not changing who he is. Stone
Mhm.
Cold Steve Austin, he was a different character. But when he hit gold with Stone Cold Steve Austin, it would have been financial and career suicide to change from Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Undertaker, when he became The Undertaker, it would have been career suicide to change back to what he was before. Toni Storm had it. She had it. And now she's throwing it away. And if you're Tony Khan and you're in charge of this and you are with this, it just to me throws out another example of letting the kids run the asylum and not truly understanding how the business works when it comes to building characters. And when you have one, then you go to two, three, four, five. You had the one, and then you let her walk out the door.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if he understands that. Do you think he does?
No, I don't. I think because you have money and you want to put on a wrestling show and you want to be on every week, doesn't mean you know how to market. Doesn't mean you know how to build characters or tell stories or anything like that. Back in the day, it was the chairman and a bunch of other people that were in the business knew how to run the business. It's Tony by himself, and that's the way he wants it. And it proves by watching this show every week. You have a great character like Tony Storm, and then you do a complete 180 on it. I don't I don't understand the whole philosophy of doing it,
All
right?
right, so let's look at it from the other side then. Instead of saying we don't understand it, we don't get it, why do you think she is doing it? Let's try to, because we want to educate the audience at home, right? We don't just want to always sit here and go, oh, it's not this or not that. Why do you think they're doing it at this time?
I think they're doing it this time to bring her up to now of what's going on with her and her whole look. I mean, her whole look was set back in the days of Marilyn Monroe and the glorious things, and now she's a rebel. She's got the black face paint underneath her. She's got all leather on now. So she's 2024 now, and maybe she wanted her character to be like that. But there are ways of doing that. You could slowly kind of turn that stuff over like that. You don't do it in an instant and say, "Oh, we're gonna make it like she has amnesia, and then she's gonna come out."
Here's what I would do. Here's what I would do if they're hell bent on doing this, and this kind of shows the why you need a full staff, why WWE has always been really good with storylines. Some have hit, some haven't hit. It's not 100%, but if you want to do this, then as Tony Storm, what I would have done is have a skit or a match or something where she takes a shot to the head, and then all of a sudden you do a skit the next week, and one of her good friends walks up and starts talking to her as Tony Storm. And Tony Storm doesn't know who she is.
Mhm.
And now all of a sudden her friend is confused. Friend walks away, talks to me. I think there's something wrong with Tony Storm. And now Tony Storm starts to be this character backstage all the time, and it's confusing everybody. Now she can take another shot to the head. And I know concussions and all that is nothing to play with, but this is suspending reality. And it's kind of like a movie, it's a TV show. And now she goes back to Toni Storm, Tommy. She's Toni Storm for a little while. Now she takes another shot to the head. Now all of a sudden, we don't know who we're going to get from week to week. That's how you build layers,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And they have a really good writer over there. I think her name's Jen, right?
Yeah,
Came from
yeah,
WWE. She
yeah,
gave
yeah.
big accolades. I met her when I went back in 2017. But to me, that's what I would have done, because now you can have almost two characters within one, and they
That
need they need a lot over there.
and you're telling stories, and you're making people wanna watch Dynamite the next week. What else are
Correct.
we gonna see? This is and you put up "to be continued" or something like that, and then you do another vignette, and then you do another vignette to make people locked in to see what's gonna be happening with Tony Storm. Not to just come out, raise your hand up, and Tony Schiavone and these guys, "Oh, she's back! Tony Storm is back!"
And
You blew it.
and they put her first match back in ring on their tape show on Saturday or Friday.
Something like
I don't know, Collision, one of those.
yeah,
But it was fumbling the ball, and I also think that um, we forget that patience is a big word. When you're on 52 weeks a year, you got to have patience, and you've got to write it a little bit at a time. We've talked about that with the Wyatt Six. If you're only on once every month, then yeah, maybe you write things a little bit different, but they're on every single week. And so you can
yeah,
write step by step by step.
yeah.
There's another issue going on, Tommy, in AEW. You're watching the Coach and Bro show. Tommy C, Coach. And it involves MJF. And I have applauded Tony Khan for allowing his superstars, since they really don't do any house shows whatsoever, which I don't understand from that aspect, but is what it is. So he allows him to go participate in other wrestling companies, which I think has helped build up the names of GCW or ROH or whatever they are. The other day, MJF, who I have been very adamant the last couple of years, I thought would be the next Rock. I really did. And he was off for a while, comes back all jacked up, reportedly a multi-million-dollar deal, brags about it all the time. I'm okay. They got something here. And now he comes back and he participated the other night at Boca Raton Championship Wrestling against QT Marshall. Out comes the Costco guy, Big Justice or Big AJ, whatever it is. They talk trash. No, nothing's thrown, at least not to MJF. But Tommy, he's the biggest star or one of the top three stars in your company. He should not be allowed to wrestle for anybody else, first and foremost. Second, what happened on Collision last night where now you're turning your biggest star, your biggest draw, and now there's crickets out there. And I think he's a little bit lost himself. And when you're arrogant and you're cocky and you're a little bit lost, it can come off as a little cringe.
A little cringe. He came out on Dynamite last night. He had this, suit on, holiday suit, let me just say that, and he became a jokester. Like, if you're a heel in this business, you want people to react to you and boo you. He became like a little comedian out there. I don't think he knows where his character is going right now. Could you ever imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin going to a little indie show with, like, 200 people? Like,
No,
what is the upside? What's the upside for my career to do that? What is the upside, especially on social media in this day and age, that we saw MJF show up in Boca Raton with 300 people instead of being on TV where thousands of people can watch you every week on TBS? What is the upside of showing up there? There is no upside. Oh, to see, oh, he could be there? That doesn't make sense at all, Tony. You don't do stuff like that. You're there to build your character up so he builds the company up. And they're not doing that. And you're right. MJF, I don't know what happened to him, but he's kind of lost right now. I know they got something with Adam Cole. Who cares? He should be going at John Moxley. He should be going after everybody, not doing what he's doing, showing up at a house show, an indie show with 200 people. That does nothing for your career, MJF. Nothing at all. Today's day and age, as we know, coach, is all about social media. It's how many people are following you. What are you doing every minute of the day? Doing that does not help build your social media.
We don't want to count anybody else's money. Never want to do that. But we are just going off what MJF, and I know sometimes it's in character when you brag about how much money you make. Mercedes Monet does it all the time. But it's safe to assume, let's say 2.5 million. Let's say 2.5 million. If you were a $2.5 million wrestler in the WWE, you would not even think about doing one of those shows because you wouldn't need the money. My answer to you would be the upside is they are making some money there. But I know at a show of that level, you're talking maybe 5 grand. I know for a guy like Matt Cardona, who's the independent king, it makes sense for him to do every single show because that's how he makes his living. But he doesn't have millions of dollars being paid to him by AEW. And so for MJF, who, man, what's it been, 5 years? 2000, they've been around for 5 years, Tommy,
Yeah.
AEW? Yeah.
Mhm.
To where I remember before AEW launched and he was just kind of trying to find himself. And I was like, man, this guy is entertaining. This guy can talk. And I've said many, many times, if you can't talk, you can't get over. And then he came out and he was able to get through the weeds of the Jerichos, of the Young Bucks, of the Kenny Omegas, of all these big stars that were there and also making big time money. I would love to hear from MJF, like off camera, out of character, what the thought process is for doing these things. And I think Mercedes Monet was at a recently was at a indie show too. I saw her dancing with somebody I
Yeah,
didn't recognize. And
yeah.
I just want to know because it's not going to happen. I asked Vince, I said, would you go back if they gave you carte blanche to write that show? Do you think you could fix it? He said if I had the right mindset from them, but none of them have the right mindset, so it would be a futile experience. And I get that. I
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah.
It's just Tommy, isn't it so hard for a business that we spent so much time in to see guys that are making a ton of money that have an opportunity? I kind of look at the PFL this way because I'm taking on a bigger role with them. They're a big MMA company, but so far to go. And I want to help build that. Tommy, this is the same opportunity if they had a Vince McMahon mind for the business and somebody who wasn't all about. I really think they could be something. But we've gone from 10,000 seat arenas to 3,000 seat arenas, and your biggest star is competing on a Sunday night instead of you running your own house shows. If you have such big stars, why are you not running your own arenas?
Right. You're absolutely right. They need structure. They don't have structure, coach. That's the problem.
Hmm.
Tony, you could tell they write week to week. They don't write long term. They write week to week, and you could tell, we could tell because we've been in the business and we watch it. And there's no continuity of why you did this and why you did this and why just like they how they brought Toni Storm in. That made no sense at all to me. She comes out, hand raised, and then the big finish at the end. She's back and go to black. Like that's an easy way out of things. There's
And
no structure at all. That's the
so
problem.
in the heyday, when I'd say '03 when I started being a character, and they would literally go to the pay-per-view and write backwards. And if I was in a character, like say I had a storyline with Hornswoggle or Eugene or Tajiri, I would know what the trajectory was going to be for at least 4 weeks, sometimes longer. And then you'd have the opportunity to change or tweak or whatever. And now, Tommy, with the WWE taping shows, trying to be very talent friendly, the AEW, they just have never really done house shows. It's always been about TV. And with no offense to Eric Bischoff whatsoever, but when WCW stopped doing house shows, that was big time revenue. Tommy, WWE, when I did house shows, I would make, and I was on the very low end, 1,500 for a house show, maybe 2 grand. If it was a bigger house show, sometimes 4 or 5 grand. And I was the low guy. So that's a talent pool from a really big chunk. That's a lot of money to leave on the table. TKO doesn't believe in it now. AEW never has believed in it. And the wrestlers are never going to walk in and go, hey, can I go on the road more?
That's right.
They're never going to do that. But
Nope.
yet they're doing all these indie shows. So they are going on the road just as much as they would if they were doing their own.
Do you know, coach, when I first started with the company, Raw, there was no Raw, there was no SmackDown. We were syndicated with Superstars and Challenge, I know because I started out in shipping. We were in 255 television stations across the US. You know how we made our money, coach?
How?
House shows. House shows.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
how we made our money.
And it
That's
used
why
to
we
be house shows to TV, right? House
Yes,
shows would put now it's TV would push to house shows,
right.
you know?
Absolutely right.
The month
You're
before I signed with WWE, I was in San Francisco for something, and they had a house show there. And I remember Sue DeRosa, man, I love her to death. She's one of the
Yep.
great people. And they
Yes.
had a house show at the Cow Palace, and The Rock was on the house show, and
Mhm.
it was sold out on a Sunday afternoon. And Saturday they were in Sacramento. On Friday they were in wherever. So now you're talking probably an extra $1 to $2 million coming into the company every weekend. And the stars have to be there, though. The
Yep.
stars have to be there, or else who's going to go? Who's going to buy
Yep.
tickets? Who's going to pay a premium to watch a Sami Zayn against a I don't know, a mid card guy?
Yep.
And I would say that's how the business has changed, and I think both companies need to address it, not just
Yes.
AEW, both. One final topic, then we're going to get the hell out of here. We will be back on Monday. I'm not sure how the holiday schedule will be, but we'll certainly let you know on social media. Tommy, this came out from Triple H a couple of days ago, and there was a lot that was made of the Rock and Roman and Cody Rhodes and all that kind of stuff at WrestleMania. And it came out that Triple H said they practically had to beg the Undertaker to come back and do the spot. I have heard that it was supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Stone Cold has always been like The Rock. You're going to pay me a premium or I ain't showing up. He didn't show up against me when I was supposed to wrestle him. And he's one of the biggest stars. He can do what he can do. But The Undertaker, according to Triple H, didn't want to come out in character, didn't want to do any of that stuff, but eventually did. There's a lot of contracts that older guys are getting now. It never happened before, at least not what Undertaker and Stone Cold have. I've heard they have in the millions. Don't
Mhm.
know
Probably.
exactly, but I heard
Yeah.
Stone Cold and Undertaker in particular are making millions of dollars. Does this surprise you to hear Triple H say that about the Undertaker?
Uh That is surprising to hear, and I'm surprised that, Taker wanted no part of WrestleMania as Taker, right? Coming in and doing what he did. I mean, there are always still a little ego in everybody where, you haven't been around and then you show up at the biggest show of the year, and now it's like, "Oh my god, he's there. There's the Undertaker." I was wondering why he would refuse to do that. Like, he's not going away. He still does those Undertaker shows around the PLEs and stuff like that. So he's still the same character that he is, a little different, obviously. So I'm wondering why he pushed back so much on doing that. And I'm sure it took somebody like Triple H and maybe probably the final boss to give him a call and said, "Hey man, we need you for this. This is
Oh,
what we're doing, and this is how we got to do it, but I need you to do this." I'm
so
sure that's what
to your
happened.
point, let me pull it up real quick here. Um, the Rock did call him, and this
Really?
is a
Wow.
direct quote from Triple H. It took us forever to get the Undertaker to do WrestleMania 40. The Rock had to call him. Everybody had to call him to get him to finally agree to do it. When he retired, he wanted to be done. He didn't come out with a hat and jacket. He was like, quote, the hat and jacket to retire. I'll come out as me, but I'm not coming out as The Undertaker. He honestly just wanted it to be over already. In particular, Taker and Stone Cold, if they're paying them reportedly what they're paying them, I think they deserve it. I think when you're a legend in this business, you deserve to make a lot of money when you're done, whether you are wrestling or not. But they have to do something, and they are. Stone Cold has a really cool show, or did, and he's been doing a lot of other things. I think The Undertaker, the reason is A, he was so protective of his character. And I also think maybe there's some negotiations there because understand this, Tommy. If he's making, let's say, 5 million from WWE, they're paying him that so he won't go to AEW because we saw Edge do it, we saw
Yep.
Christian do it, we've seen several other much less star power superstars do it. But how much do you think Tony Khan would pay Stone Cold or Undertaker to just be in? We talked about 15 million to Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
That it would be more than that for them. I mean,
Hey,
I saw so maybe there was a little bit of that going on, maybe a little gamesmanship. I don't know, but maybe that was it. That he was like, "All right, I'll raise the stakes a little bit. And reportedly, he got his deal done.
You know what? He'd give him 18, he'd give him 20,000,000 because money is no object there, right? And to steal the top stars from the Attitude Era, who made your Attitude Era, that would be such a coup for Tony Khan. It would be unbelievable. But I really think Taker has always been a true guy to the WWE. I mean, he could have left years ago when I was there, when everybody was dumping out and going to the NWO and getting guaranteed contracts, not working house shows. But Taker stayed. Taker and Sean stood loyal to the chairman back in the day. So maybe Taker would play it as a ploy to maybe get a little more money out of him, but I don't think he would ever really go to AEW. In my eyes, maybe. I could be wrong. But when somebody throws 20,000,000 at you, you gotta say, "Hmm,
Tommy, I don't know if I've ever told this story on camera before, but this is a true story. On my kids, this is a true story. And it kind of tells you maybe where Taker's mind is at. Maybe things aren't always what they seem. So take this story for what it's worth, okay? I don't know if you even know this story. So I'm sitting at my desk at ESPN. I don't even know the year. I think it was one of his last WrestleManias. And all of a sudden, I get an email from a random person in Texas. And I open up the email, and it's a video, and it's a trailer. And it's a trailer for a documentary behind the scenes with The Undertaker heading to WrestleMania. And part of this trailer is The Undertaker driving in a pickup truck, and he takes a phone call from Vince McMahon. And the phone call is on this trailer. And I'm listening to this sitting at my desk getting ready for Sports Center going, and if I was the coach of today, I never would have done what I did. But what I did was this, because I was so incredibly loyal even after I left. And people don't even know that. I was so loyal to the WWE
yeah,
to a fault. Who do you think was the first person I called? Because in that email, it was from a person who was trying to get a bidding war started and wanted to see if ESPN was interested in buying a documentary on The Undertaker leading up to what could have been his last WrestleMania. So I
wow,
called Kevin Dunn and I said, Kevin, I am looking at this right now. He didn't believe me. He's like, Taker would never do this to us. He would never make a documentary with
wow,
somebody else because if he was going to make one, he would make it with us. That's a quote from Kevin Dunn. And the company was called Onyx. I believe I have that right. Onyx is partly owned by Joe Rogan, and he moved his show to Texas, and I didn't know any of these guys, and so I sent it to Kevin Dunn. I sent it to the WWE, and it never saw the light of day. And what was told to me when we went to WrestleMania after that was that Vince wasn't really pissed; he was hurt that it was even shot, it was even done. And so I don't know what was done behind the scenes. My guess is there was some money exchanged so that they
oh
wouldn't
yeah,
sell it. Of course, right? So sometimes
absolutely.
companies will pay somebody for something not to air. And I don't know what else was in there. Like I said, it was only about 2 minutes. And there was Vince on the phone as he's driving down the truck. And it was basically, what else would you like to see? And to me,
Wow,
because I love The Undertaker, I have some really
yeah,
good
me
times with
too.
him. Like he's always been respectful to me. He got me more drunk as a. I've told that story before. I just love him, and I don't tell this story to bury him in any way because it's not burying him. It's just kind of telling you that sometimes you superstars may want something, and a company may not do it for them. And so you go to somebody else who says, "Hey, here's $1 million. All you have to do is let us follow you around for 2 or 3 months and make a documentary." It's
Wow,
easy money. And for a
yes,
guy like him, that's easy money.
and, he kayfabed the guys. He
Everybody.
kayfabed the king.
I was the first one to
That's
know it.
unheard of.
Yeah,
I've never
true
heard
story.
that, never, and
I
so
don't think
that
I've ever told you that. Yeah.
no, so that guy's recording Triple H I'm sorry, he's recording Taker while he's driving in his pickup, and he's
Yes.
talking to Vince on the phone, and you hear Vince.
Yes.
Are
But they
you
don't
kidding
play
me?
out the thing because it's a tease. It's a
Yes.
trailer. So you would never put the conversation in the trailer.
No. No.
Right. But yes, that is as God is my witness. That's true. And if this gets quoted, if this gets out there, that's fine. This was God. I left in 17. This was before 2017, so it was over 8 years ago. But
Wow.
it absolutely is true. And so, I mean, I don't fault the Undertaker or Stone Cold or anybody in wrestling for going to get theirs. If you're going to get your bag, and you easy money is what we all want. We love
Mm,
hard work. We love building stuff up. But if somebody walked
yep.
in right now and said, "Hey Tommy, hey coach, we'll give you $1 million. Will you shoot a dog?" Hell yes.
Mhm.
Hell yes. And so I just think that's kind of where everybody was at that time. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
That's a
Isn't that crazy?
great friggin' story. I've been around a long time, I'd never heard anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, true story. So we'll see how things move forward.
Yep.
That's going to do it for this episode. Do not forget, we drop every single Monday and Thursday. Big thank you to you, Tommy, for filling in. As always, you can see Big Tommy C all over behind the turnbuckle. We drop our episodes on Friday. We have the last word on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, we've got a lot more coming in 2025, a big platform we're going to be on as well, kind of a roundtable show. So we want to really bring it from every side of the fence, and we want all of you to join in the ride with us because we're having a great time. That'll do it for now. For Producer Man, for Big Tommy C, shout out to my partner, Vince Russo. I am the coach. There's only one. This is the Coach and Bro Show. See you on Monday.